Crystal Waters. It Began in Europe. Book 1 in the Crystal Waters series by Diana Rozevskis. Chapter 4. Iris. Robert closed the library door behind him and sat on one of the leather sofas. The girls, still feeling bewildered, sat across from Robert and gazed at him. It was the first time Grace had been in a library and not interested in looking at the books. "What is going on? Is this some joke?" frowned Emma. "Because if it is, it's not funny." Robert appeared uneasy, as if he had revealed more than he should have. "Certain secrets are not mine to disclose, but I must share something with you." Robert shifted in his seat. "My mum told me not to say anything. She said you lost your memory, but I can't believe it. Can you not remember anything about the day your dad died?" "I remember there was a gas explosion in Gran's cellar and that Dad didn't get out in time," recalled Emma. "Yeah, that's what your mum told you afterwards. The truth is quite different. I was there, remember?" "But why would Mum lie to me? And if there was another story, don't you think Grace would remember it?" argued Emma. "No, not really. Grace was only 4 at the time." Emma looked at Grace and was surprised to see her nodding in agreement. "It's true," said Grace. "Our memory and thought patterns have not fully developed at age 4. We can remember things, but not in detail. As we get older, we tend to fill in the gaps for our convenience of telling a story," she continued. "What I can remember, and it's not clear, is that I was upset we couldn't find Mum and Dad." "You never told me any of this," said Emma, the colour now draining from her face. "I didn't know if it was true or not. I thought it was a dream." "What else do you remember?" whispered Emma. "I don't know," said Grace, as she looked out the library window. "I remember sand and a mirror with crystal in the middle, but not much else." Emma let out a small gasp, and her eyes started to widen. "You're starting to remember, aren't you?" smiled Robert. Emma looked at Robert and then back to Grace. "I've been having the same nightmare for years, ever since Dad died, but I didn't think it was true." "Are you trying to tell me it was?" Robert chuckled. "You seem quite surprised, almost like a stunned fish. I believe you already know the answer if you think about it," he said, smirking. "Your mum wanted to protect you and didn't want to lose you like she lost your dad. She knows the truth, you see." "The truth about what?" "The truth that someone from your family has to return to the other world, ancient Crete to be exact," said Robert. Emma's head was spinning and all she could think of was where exactly Crete was. She needed to concentrate. As she gazed at Robert, she could see he was talking, but her inner thoughts were screaming in her head. Finally, Robert interrupted her thoughts. "It was your Gran's fault. She forgot the golden rule," he said. "And what was that?" Emma blurted out. Robert's expression became serious as he revealed that something had been forgotten. Gran's hairbrush. Although it may seem insignificant, in the ancient world it was of great importance. The surface of Crete is now home to dangerous monsters. The people were forced to seek refuge in the underworld. "But how did leaving a hairbrush behind change everything?" "It was the DNA. The hairbrush containing your Gran's DNA was left on the ground, also known as Mother Earth. The foreign DNA caused a reaction due to its unfamiliarity with the ancient land," explained Robert. "And because the DNA was an unfamiliar body, it triggered a response. For example, when our bodies are invaded, our antibodies kick in. Would you agree?" Grace hypothesized. "Correctamundo," smiled Robert, quite impressed. "You know your stuff, don't you?" "She reads a lot," said Emma, proud of her little sister. Grace beamed back at them both, and a vivid shade of pink flushed her cheeks. So Mother Earth tries to protect her land by spewing out all these monsters to rid this thorn in Crete's side. But these monsters were as mad as a box of frogs and had a will of their own, said Robert. So they rebelled against Mother Nature? Asked Grace. Yes, and now they rule over the lands, and only you and your blood family can get rid of them, Robert exclaimed. Why only us, and what exactly can we do? Exclaimed Emma. You have similar genes to the monsters, a diluted version of your grands, but we think it would work, Robert went on, because the same genes that made them will also destroy them. Who are we exactly? Asked Emma. Me and Herman and your gran, of course. Olga and my mum said we were crazy and took your mum's point of view, so that's why it must be one of you two. Your gran attempted to go back 4 years ago, but it didn't go well, so your dad and Herman had to go and rescue her. That's what we saw, didn't we? Through the cellar door. Herman and Gran running from the other world. But Dad didn't make it. Emma trailed off and looked sad. I can't see how we can do it if Gran, Dad and Herman tried before, and they couldn't. But we have to try, don't we? Chipped in Grace. If we don't, Dad would have died for nothing, she said, her eyes glazing with tears. It's important to understand that your family has owned this house for generations. There are many legends associated with it, and the gateway is at the heart of the house. So when something goes wrong, like this, property and house deteriorate. This is what's happening now. The three of them stared at each other until finally Emma broke the silence. We must go then. Will you help us? Yes, of course, but I must tell you first we have a problem, said Robert. To gain access to these other worlds, we need a key. This key is like no other. It is a crystal. The crystal must be placed into a specific mirror to reveal the password. Once inserted, the mirror will display the password. And I must add that it's never the same password twice. We have the mirror and some of the crystals, but we can't find the one for Crete. We need a selenite crystal. How did it get lost? Asked Grace. Your mum was quite upset with your gran. She hid the crystals throughout Foysby Hall estate. She knew they couldn't be taken anywhere else. You see, the crystals can only travel to the other worlds or stay on the grounds here. Removing them would result in severe consequences for anyone who attempts to do so. It could even be considered a curse of some sort. Your mom knows the rules, so we knew it must be here somewhere. We've been searching for years, but haven't had any luck yet. So we can't open the door? Asked Emma. I didn't say that. I said we can't open the door to the world of Crete, said Robert slowly with a peculiar look on his face. I wonder? She could help? Wait here a minute. And with that, he ran out of the room, leaving the girls looking at each other with bewilderment. It wasn't long before Robert returned, holding the hand mirror and a blue crystal. Come with me, he said. Where are we going? Asked Emma, but she already knew the answer. Do you think it's safe? Don't you think we should get an adult? It'll be fine, don't worry, shouted Robert over his shoulder. He ran along the corridor and down the metal spiral staircase to the cellar. The girls hurried after him. They all rushed through the chambers and up to the old wooden door. I don't know why we haven't thought of this before, said Robert, as he slotted the crystal into the back of the mirror. The girls moved closer and peered over his shoulder. At first, all they could see was their reflection staring back. Then a blue mist started to appear in the mirror, and through the mist they could see letters forming a word. Parakalo Voitea, Robert read. What does that mean? Asked Emma. It means, please help. It's Greek, said Robert softly. Robert then clicked the mirror on the door. After speaking the password, a bright light surrounded the doorframe. As the door creaked open, Emma was greeted by the sight of the most stunning girl she had ever seen. The girl's long silver hair flowed in a non-existent breeze. Emma's gaze shifted to the girl's ankle-length dress. Her delicate feet hovered inches above the ground. As Emma observed the dress, she noticed the pattern looked like cascading water. She realized that it was actually in motion. The hem of her dress was adorned with emerald green vines and tiny water droplets that sparkled like tears. Who is she? Whispered Grace. Emma looked down at her little sister's face and saw Grace was in awe too. This, beamed Robert, is Iris, and she is a messenger. Robert turned to Iris, who was smiling at them all. We need your help. We can't find the missing crystal. Could you show us where it is? Iris closed her sapphire blue eyes and looked deep in thought. Her eyes sprung open, and she looked at all three of them, finally resting on Grace. Years have passed that I do wait, all nearly lost, but not too late. A glimmer of hope, dare I say. Long has it been here, cold and grey? Stand and wait, I keep listening. Many sunsets, then the moon glistening. Delay no longer, my dear friends. 'Tis you alone can make amends. If the eye is sharp and spirit keen, senses in tune, it will be seen. Ornate beauty within it shows. Where it dwells, only one soul knows. A light from the darkness it shall bring. A wind doth blow, and it will ring. Hath wary thoughts, I will confess. Magic, sorcery it doth possess. 5 and 5 steps you must rise. Continue east to where it lies. A letter written for your pleasure. There, you find your hidden treasure. Her voice rang out to them like a small bell. With that, a mist started to form behind her, and she gently floated back towards it. Soon she was consumed by its fluffy whiteness and disappeared completely from view. What does all that mean? Asked Emma as she watched the large oak door close. Robert shrugged. Suddenly they heard a loud cough. They all jumped. Herman and Ceber were standing behind them. I think you have some explaining to do. You three, don't you think? Said Herman firmly,